You're listening to Alcoholics Alive, where recovered members of Alcoholics Anonymous share their experience on how they live AA as a way of life. None of our participants get paid or speak for AA. Here are your hosts, Shank and Wayne.
Shank, we've received a little feedback on the request for chip sayings. So if you're a regular listener and you're out there, thanks for sending info on chips. We're probably 6 or 7 episodes from actually covering that. So you've got time to send more info. So what we're looking for is when in meetings that give out chips or medallions.
Or clips.
Or clips.
Or sticks.
Or sticks. That's right. I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're really digging in now.
I am.
So anyway, groups that celebrate milestones in recovery, many times you'll hear the person giving out the item. They'll say all kinds of cute little sayings or dumb sayings. We're looking for suggestions on those. So if you have any favorites or anything that you hear, send it to us.
Brown chip.
The brown chip for a crappy attitude. We're going to cover a segment on chips in a future episode. If you're new to the pod, thanks for listening. We're here to kind of get back to the simple message of recovery as outlined in the book Alcoholics Anonymous. And while we're doing that, we try to have a little fun and not take things too serious. So appreciate you listening. Shank, what's our Upon Awakening reading today?
Upon Awakening today comes from the book Alcoholics Anonymous, pages 14 and 15. This is the 4th edition, 2001. And it says, "My friend had emphasized the absolute necessity of demonstrating these principles in all my affairs. Particularly was it imperative to work with others as he had worked with me. Faith without works was dead, he said, and how appallingly true for the alcoholic. For if an alcoholic failed to perfect and enlarge his spiritual life through work and self-sacrifice for others, he could not survive the certain trials and low spots ahead. If he did not work, he would surely drink again, and if he drank, he would surely die. Then faith would be dead indeed. With us, it is just like that."
Part of that could be the most important statement in the big book.
Which part?
For if an alcoholic failed to perfect and enlarge his spiritual life through work and self-sacrifice for others, he could not survive the certain trials and low spots ahead. To me, that tells us why people relapse. So we've got to continue to perfect our spiritual life. We do that in a lot of different ways. Continual application of the 12 steps and helping other people. And we may do other things to grow spiritually, which really is part of doing steps 10, 11, and 12. And we have to have self-sacrifice for others. I think you may have pointed this out recently. It says strenuous work with another alcoholic. So.
And that is my experience.
Yep. Yeah, and it's pretty important. Again, you can't read the book Alcoholics Anonymous more than a page or two where it does not mention the necessity of trying to help somebody else and trying to be of service to someone else. So this reading tells us that there's going to be trials and low spots ahead in our life. And the way that we overcome them is we continue to perfect and enlarge our spiritual life. Working the 12 steps and helping other people. So this is it's a good reading. And he also talks about demonstrating principles in all your affairs. Step 12, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I over the years, I either really like Faith Without Works is Dead, or maybe not so much, but recently, Faith Without Works is dead, yes, but works without faith is also dead for me. So I can't just be doing a lot of activity and stay sober and spiritually fit.
You heard that right here from Shank. Say that again. Works without faith is dead.
That's right.
I love it.
I do a lot of activity in Alcoholics Anonymous, and that is not some kind of humble brag. It's just a fact.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean anything. We have an upside down triangle, so the further you go into service, the less it means, the less you mean.
There's a big difference in AA between activity and spiritual action.
So activity is important, certainly, but if you're not working on your relationship with God, whatever that means to you, then probably not going to be too good.
Yeah, activity alone will not get you to the promised land. Meaning, we got to do more than activity. But sometimes the activity looks like that's how people are staying sober. And
Well,
it
yeah,
could work
it may
for a little
keep you
bit.
diverted from thinking about a drink and you're with people. It's exciting. You're helping people together as a group. It's awesome. I don't want to diminish the activity. It is certainly important, but
Yeah, at the end of the day, you got to have
you gotta have faith. You gotta have
faith.
faith.
George Michael died, didn't he?
I don't know.
That's an outside issue. It's a good song. All right. Well, faith would be dead indeed if we drink again.
There you go.
So, Shank, what is our topic today?
My sponsor said,
Well, it must be true then.
unfortunately for me, I believe that I have said this many times.
So the actual topic is, or the saying that we're discussing is, my sponsor said.
Hmm.
Okay. And you have used that.
Oh, I'm positive. Like, I can't name like one time, but there was several years in there where I would let you know, or the meeting that I was chairing know, like, well, my sponsor said da 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 da.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess if our sponsor said it, it must be true. We'll talk a bit more about that in a minute, maybe. Let's talk a little bit about how it might be helpful.
Okay.
I guess
At least
it
you have a
does.
sponsor.
That's exactly right. So that's a good point. So if somebody's saying it, you're assuming that they have a sponsor.
Yep.
That's a good thing. It probably does highlight the importance of sponsorship, right? If somebody is constantly saying, my sponsor said. Here's the funny thing about that now. What I would do is I would not say, my sponsor said such and such and such. I would repeat something that my sponsor said, and then I'd take credit for it.
Yeah, you would just say it.
That's what I did. And I would even listen to talks of like my sponsor's sponsor or even his sponsor's sponsor.
Yeah.
And then I would say
Parrot.
something. Oh yeah, I would parrot that in a meeting and act like it was mine. It does remind us that others have experience that we can learn from. And that's a good thing about it, I guess. The more I think about it, there's nothing good about it, actually. We could just shut it down right now. Actually saying it. The
The longer I've been sober, the more that I have realized that the women who have sponsored me, the majority of the things that I thought were groundbreaking were in AA literature. So it's not that they said something that was just like whispered in their ear from God to say to me. The majority of the time, it's not new.
That's correct. So let's talk about where maybe it's not helpful or harmful. You hear, I mean, I often hear people kind of say it in kind of like, "Hey, listen, all y'all are dumb. This is what my sponsor said, and this is the gospel." So when it's said like that, I'm not going to listen to any of that nonsense. Now, some people might, and they'll even use it to kind of shut down discussion or to change the discussion in a meeting. Also, I'm wondering, like, okay, well, who is your sponsor? You hear people, you'll hear people say it. Well, my sponsor said such and such, and I'm like, okay, well, who is your sponsor? Do you actually really have a sponsor, and has that sponsor actually taken the steps and is trying to help other people?
Well, and I also
Which
think
is
that
not always the case.
it's not necessarily just like my sponsor said. It could be anyone. There was someone who had been sober for a long time, very prominent in AA in our area. He passed away a few years ago. But someone else would always tell me that my sobriety in prison didn't count because you can't drink in there, and that this other guy had said it.
And he
that
probably did.
He didn't say it because, trust me, I asked everyone that I could, so angry, like, how dare this person say my sobriety doesn't count? And I got to the bottom of it. But that man still will say it to me today. Not the dead guy, the other guy. And I just say, well, thanks for sharing that.
So he still thinks it's true.
There were drugs and alcohol in the prison where I was incarcerated, so I count my time.
No. Yeah, I think you should count your time. Why wouldn't it count? Dr. Bob's first day of sobriety was the same day he drank, or the day he quit drinking.
Me too.
Yeah, mine too. The other thing that you see happen, so, I mean, we could talk about this for a long time, is it turns into like sponsorship worship, or, like this almost like militant obedience to a sponsor, which has always just, it's been revulsive to me to hear some of that stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, I've got tremendous respect for my sponsor and other people that are ahead of me in the program. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm talking about is some of these folks, they're overly dependent on their sponsor, and they kind of communicate that in their shares. And I don't think that was really ever the intent of sponsorship. And there's people, and I mean, maybe some people have to do this, but they like run everything by their sponsor.
Some people want you to run everything by them.
God, not me.
I think it's like this perpetual loop where people hear all their sponsees say, well, my sponsor said this, and this, and then it may or may not be true. So then the sponsor has to clean it up and say, actually, that's not what I said. What I said was X, Y, and Z. And so then they share it again. And it's like this guru worship loop.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't think anyone wants to be in. I cannot be clear enough. I think most people do not want to be in that, but it just like happens.
There's probably a few that do.
Well, probably.
Not many. You're right. Well, you've probably even, I mean, I have it happen all the time. I'm sure you've had it happen where you heard somebody in a meeting say something that they think you said, but you really didn't say it, or you didn't say it quite the way that they communicated it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
What I try to say now is I've been speaking with my sponsor about step 10 recently, and my experience is X, Y, and Z. I try not to even bring her into it at all.
Yeah. Which is smart. Yeah, but you'll hear it in me. Well, yeah. Matter of fact, I've sat in a lot of meetings where somebody says, I'm their sponsor. My sponsor said, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking like, No, bro, I never actually said that. I don't think that's what happened. That's funny.
Every now and again, though, you may have just forgotten. You
Maybe.
think?
It could. It could happen. My sponsor said, I'm more interested in what the book says. I'm more interested in what the literature says. And I mean, I know we all have experiences and people's experiences need to be shared, but you can share it without starting it with the comment my sponsor said.
Well, you know what this reminds me of? This may be a reach, but um, acceptance is the answer. And I appreciate that, but that is someone's story, and that is their experience, and that is not the program of AA. And that's coming from someone who read that page every single day for a year, maybe longer. So,
It's a good point. I mean, a lot of the stories and a lot of people's experience, I mean, it's their experience, but sometimes it's communicated in an AA meeting by someone else that, like, this is AA experience. And if you're not doing it this way, then you're not doing it right. And the reality is, it's not AA experience, it's an individual's experience.
mhm.
That's not a reach. I think that's right on the money. So I don't know. I'm gonna probably be make sure I don't say this. My sponsor said, yeah. Jay Wayne said, or Shank said. What's the book? What's the big book say?
What does the big book say? Well, on page 59, the big book says, here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery.
Now, see right there. What else do you need to know? And then it has the 12 steps.
Yes.
So that's the program of recovery,
Hmm.
not what your sponsor said. And it's funny now. I've never been a guy that says this, but you'll hear this a lot. Well, the big book doesn't even mention sponsorship. Okay, it
It
doesn't.
mentions helping people
It does mention helping people and working with others,
and working with
and it's
others.
and it's got some very fine examples of where Ebby helped Bill Wilson. You don't have to call that sponsorship, but that's what it was. Bill Wilson helped Dr. Bob. Call that what you want to call it. Those two guys went and helped Bill Dotson. Call that what, so there's several examples in there about what we would now call sponsorship, but it's true. Sponsors are not mentioned. And the program of recovery is found in the 12 steps. Many times we experience it, though, by another person helping us. But the steps are the solution, not what your
So
sponsor said.
tell me, this is getting on another tangent. Is it true that we started using AA, the term sponsor, like Akron started using that first?
It
Or
kind of started
when
using,
did we start doing that?
they started using it first around Akron and Cleveland,
Okay.
mostly in Cleveland. And people would be in the hospital and another AA member, again, around that time, they may or may not have been called AA, but another AA member would sponsor that person out of the hospital and bring them to the group. And that person was responsible for connecting that person to other alcoholics, recovered alcoholics, and the group and the literature, which back then was mostly the Bible and other stuff like that. And then, they were the first ones that kind of coined the term and wrote a pamphlet about it. Was in the Cleveland, Akron area.
So I have like all the Akron pamphlets from the intergroup there, I think. I've actually
Yeah,
never
they still
been, but
sell
my
'em.
husband, yeah, brought them to me. And I thought I
Yeah,
remembered reading something in there about it.
yeah. So that's kind of where it started.
Okay. Well,
What else does the
also
book say?
in the book, Alcoholics Anonymous, um, page 133 says, God has abundantly supplied this world with fine doctors, psychologists, and practitioners of various kinds. Do not hesitate to take your health problems to such persons.
Okay, so it's telling us that that if we need to, we can seek help from a wide range of sources,
Hmm.
not just a sponsor.
That's right. They're not
So
your
many of
therapist,
that's right.
generally,
Yeah.
not your
It
doctor.
all. Yeah. It also says in there somewhere that be quick to see where religious people are right. Make use
Yeah.
of what they offer.
Yep, the clergy.
Yeah. So I think this is right on the money that there's times where we may need help from somebody else and we should not hesitate to do that. It's got to be, you got to be careful though. I would say this. There's two key terms in the book that we need to pay attention to. One is the term fine doctors, psychologists, and practitioners. And it says somewhere else in there, a good doctor. So if you really have alcoholism, if you're going to seek help, I mean, obviously, if you got cancer, go see a doctor that's a specialist in cancer. But if it's more emotional or mental, make sure you see somebody that is competent and understands the 12 steps in spirituality and alcoholism and drug addiction. So anyway, it does encourage us to seek outside help if needed. Enough said on that.
Page 164. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us.
So ultimately, at some point, if we're taking the 12 steps and we're trying to establish a relationship with God, which is what the book says, it's actually the solution, we should become more God reliant and God dependent. And the source of our kind of strength comes from God, not from a human being. This is another kind of concept that's missing or disappearing in AA and even in society. And I mean, we really should get to the point to where we kind of think on our own, and our source is God. It doesn't mean we don't talk to other people. It doesn't mean we don't run stuff by other people. But the ultimate source is God, not me, not you, not the sponsor. The other thing we know is sponsors are human. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. What?
So
I'm
my
curious to see what
tradition and
Yeah.
concept references. All right. Tradition, we have the long form of tradition too. For our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as he may express himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern.
See,
So
it kind of
sponsors, trusted servants, leaders, yeah.
This is a good one, Shank. It's another key point that we probably need to bring back in Alcoholics Anonymous. The ultimate authority is a loving God. It doesn't say a sponsor. It doesn't say the book. It doesn't say the group. It doesn't say people. It doesn't say PLBB. That the ultimate authority is a loving God. So that's where we all should get to, is where we're depending on God, and not the ultimate authority is not a sponsor. I guess when we talk like that, it sounds like we're disregarding the idea of sponsorship, but we're
No.
not. No.
My experience in sponsorship has always been that they lead me back to God, whether that's something in our literature or they know me personally. It's something, how I practice my relationship with God. They're always leading me to that, even if they don't practice the same as I do. And for me, that's how I know, that I'm where I need to be, doing what I need to do.
Good sponsor will always lead you back to God. A good sponsor will always help you find the spiritual principle that's going to help you.
Hmm.
That's why maybe we should get rid of the term sponsor and start calling them, hey, you need to get a trusted servant.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not gurus or rulers. That's a good
All right.
tie-in with tradition too. Really good. What
Okay,
about
so
concepts?
now we have concept three, long form. Okay. And it says, as a traditional means of creating and maintaining a clearly defined working relation between the groups, the conference, the AA General Service Board, and its several service corporations, staffs, committees, and executives, and of thus ensuring their effective leadership, it is here suggested that we endow each element of AA, the conference, the General Service Board, and its service corporations, staffs, committees, and executives with a traditional right of decision. So, uh, our trusted servants here, the conference, the AA General Service Board, and its several service corporations, staffs, committees, and executives, the trusted servants should be making choices based on like conscience, not command. The group conscience.
It's a
Should be
great,
God.
it's a great tie-in. It kind of ties right into the tradition too. That we should be guided by our conscience. We should be guided by God's conscience within us. Step 10 tells us once we get to step 10 that we become God conscious, that we develop the vital sixth sense. And I think that's kind of what this is tying into is that, hey, sponsors are important, but the ultimate authority is God. And we've got the right of decision. We should be guided by God and by principle.
Spiritual decision making.
Spiritual decision making. There was another term that came up previous episodes, spiritual something. I thought it was pretty good. I don't remember what it is now. Well, what do you think about the idea of sponsees not being subordinates?
What is a subordinate?
You will have to Google that. It's basically somebody that is going to like be under someone or take direction from someone.
Lower in rank or position.
Is that what it says?
Hmm.
Yeah.
I've always considered myself lower in rank and position than the women who have sponsored me personally. Um, and you know what? They look to me for input on a lot of things, but what I have loved about being sponsored is I can be confrontational and really not in like a mean way, but if I don't understand something, like I just want to talk it through. And especially before I get to somewhere that I might have an attitude. And I just remember like feeling very sure about a situation with the grapevine and being conference approved and all this stuff. And my sponsor very lovingly let me say everything I wanted to say. She told me I was wrong. She told me why I was wrong. I continued to kind of disagree, and she got someone else who had been sober longer than her on the phone, and then they both told me I was wrong. And you know what? They didn't say it in a mean way. They just said, "Hey, here's where you need to kind of go and do some reading. Here's why you're incorrect. We're so glad that you're into this and you're seeking more. And let's end this call with a prayer because like
Yeah.
you're pretty hyped up about it." And it was great.
One of the great things about Alcoholics Anonymous is that we get to pick our leaders, or we get to kind of pick and choose who we follow, and even who we get to sponsor us. And the interesting about this one is, I personally believe that I am subordinate to my sponsor. He's never made me feel that way, though.
Yeah.
It's never even like come up in any conversation. And so, I mean, I've always kind of felt equal to, even though I don't think I am. I mean, if that makes sense.
In Alcoholics Anonymous, we're all equals.
That's right.
Now,
Yeah.
I'm always going to go to the people that have been sober longer than me, that have done the service I'm doing, or who have done something similar. I'm always going to go to those people.
And after going through all this, maybe next week I will say in a meeting, my sponsor said.
Well, I know what you should say that he said, so I'll tell you offline.
Oh, Lord. I got a funny email that I got sent last night about something he said. I'll have to tell you about that later. All right. Well, here's what we do know. Sponsorship is vital to the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, but so is a relationship with God. And it is important probably to not put sponsors on a pedestal. I mean, I guess you can keep them on a pedestal if you want to. You just got to make sure that you remember and know that they're human.
Yeah.
And yeah, our real goal, I think, though, with the step is to have our own relationship with God, and to be, to use one of your other terms, spiritual independence. To have some spiritual independence that's rooted in steps and the literature and connection with God.
Ultimate authority.
Leave that at that. There you go. What else needs to be said? Let's move on to Living Sober Shrapnel.
All right. We have Living Sober Shrapnel, our segment of lore, myth, and sayings from the booklet Living Sober. We have arrived at page 80 in the booklet Living Sober.
We're about done.
I know, we're almost through the entire booklet, which is, I think, pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So we're still in this section that's talking about, like, do we have to go for the rest of our lives? Do we have to go to meetings the rest of our lives? And this first Living Sober Shrapnel comes from page 80, and it is online meetings available on the internet.
Oh my God. All right.
Just so that everyone's aware, this is pre-2020.
Oh, was it really?
So
All right.
this says, as a substitute for a meeting when attendance is impossible, we may contact AA friends on the telephone, by ham radio, or electronically, or we may participate in one of the many online meetings available on the internet. If none of these methods is available, we may simply hold a meeting in our minds while reading some AA material or a story from the grapevine.
Oh my goodness.
Hold a meeting in your mind, Wayne.
Hold a meeting in your mind. Oh my goodness. Simply hold a meeting in our minds. Wow. Well, I don't even know what to say about this thing. I mean, I guess it's true. It's interesting that prior to 2020, that all this stuff was not all this stuff, let me back up. So, using the internet and even online meetings were very kind of exceptional and almost frowned upon, right? Mm-hmm. And now, all of a sudden, all that changed.
Yep.
And I can actually remember, I had sponsored people in other states and countries on Skype.
Nice.
I mean, I've actually read the book to people on Skype and done prayers with them on Skype, and I was always kind of, I wouldn't say ridiculed, but people turn their nose up at that, like, oh, they can't do that. And they should do something local and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, 2020 rolls around and everybody's on Zoom, and now it's a great idea. Anyway, maybe I need to write some resentment inventory about all that.
But did you ever use Windows Live Messenger?
Well, I think I probably may have. I remember I'm trying to think. It would have been in the 90s, the mid to late 90s. We used to go on the chat lines. There would be these chat lines on AOL and other avenues on the internet.
Like the chat rooms?
Yeah, we'd go in rooms and we'd have online meetings where you couldn't see anybody or talk. You just typed.
I was in the chat rooms. Not those, but
it was it was interesting connecting with people that you had like common folks in common, but you didn't know each other. And I can remember thinking, well, God's speaking to us through these chat rooms. Mm-hmm. It was never my deal, though. I never once thought that was like a solution, or that I would replace face-to-face stuff with that. But it's obviously working for people. I don't know. I know now that there's some folks, we know some of them, they're teaching people how to be online sponsors.
Yeah.
And some of them are reading a book to like hundreds of people online.
Which I don't understand how being an online sponsor would be any different than being an in-person sponsor, but maybe that's my ignorance.
Yeah.
Also, I would think several people would have, issues with anonymity that way.
Those that don't understand anonymity, yes, they would have issues with it, for sure. For sure. I guess his point here is that, hey, if you can't get to a face-to-face meeting, then you can talk to people on the phone. You could listen to people on a ham radio or electronically. It's not.
Well, I would think today, like we have podcasts or just other platforms. You can go on YouTube and search AA talks, and you're going to get a ton.
Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of material and lots of stuff that are now available. That's probably a good thing. Mm-hmm. However, even the podcast, right? People are listening to it on the internet. Mm-hmm. They're listening to it on apps. So we can't poo-poo the whole idea.
Well, but we don't claim to be AA. This is not a replacement for a sponsor or for going to an AA meeting.
Very good point. Yep. And it's just a personal thing. I don't think any of that stuff is a substitution for a face-to-face, one-on-one, face-to-face meeting and one-on-one, contact with an AA member or even a newcomer trying to help them. So I don't know. You want to keep it or scrap it?
Mm-hmm. Well, this says when attendance is impossible as a substitute for a meeting.
Agreed, but let me run this one by you. Listen to this. We may simply hold a meeting in our minds
Yeah, but that's if none of the previous methods are available. So if you can't get on the internet,
Okay.
you can't get on the telephone or ham radio, then you just
Why
run it back in your mind.
Why didn't he just say, or we may read some AA material or a story from the AA grapevine?
Well, maybe you don't have a material or grapevine. Maybe it's at the end times.
Listen, there's okay, I'm following you. I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole. There's a guy that used to do his big book workshops, and he would talk about the theater of the mind. Have you ever seen any of that stuff?
I don't think so.
I'll send it to you. We don't have time to talk about it now. You want to keep it or scrap it?
I'm leaning towards scrap.
All right. It's out of here.
All right, our next living sober shrapnel is alcoholism is expensive.
It sure is.
This is from page 81. And it says, the money question. Alcoholism is expensive. Although AA itself charges no dues or fees whatsoever, we have already paid pretty heavy dues to liquor stores and bartenders before we get here. Therefore, many of us arrive at AA nearly broke, if not heavily in debt. The sooner we can become self-supporting, the better, we have found.
Well, I love the last statement there. Alcoholism is expensive.
So this is a new heading that is called the money question.
Oh, that's the actual. Okay, the money question.
I want to read you a poem that's in
Read us. It's in the book.
Yeah.
Let it rip.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, I must have missed this.
Okay, it says investment counsel. In the first few weeks without a drink, when the wolf is at the door, and the sheriff's at the window, and you're sleeping on the floor, and life looks bleak and hopeless from a monetary angle, it's time to spend in certain ways to solve the awful tangle. That token or the bus fare to get you to a meeting, that dime to use the telephone for the necessary greeting, that nickel for expenses that makes you feel you matter, that dollar for the coffee shop for after-meeting chatter. All these are wise investments for the neophyte to make. This bread, when cast upon the waters, always comes back cake.
Listen, I forgot that was in there, and I'm just telling you right now, the whole book needs to go. We've got to stop. We've got to. I'm hoping that when they rewrite the damn thing, they're going to take that out. That's so stupid. I mean, I just cut right to it. That's about dumber than acceptance is the answer.
I forgot about neophyte. I had to look
Yeah,
that up.
that's right. Yes. What's it say?
A new convert to a religion, or a person who is new to a subject, skill, or belief.
Yep. Neophyte. Wow. Well, my goodness. You know the other thing that drives me crazy? This comment here that we've already paid pretty heavy dues to liquor stores and bartenders before we get here. That's kind of like that. I earned this seat.
Yeah.
I paid my dues before I got here.
Yep.
So I've never bought into all that. I don't like that. I do like the comment, the sooner we become self-supporting, the better we've found. That's another dying concept in AA.
Mm-hmm.
And alcoholism is expensive.
Yeah.
But the poem you just read has just thrown me off. I'm ready to scrap all of it. Wow. All right, I'm scrapping this one.
Okay, it's out of here. And then our last one is climb out of the hole. And it says, creditors are almost always happy to go along with us as long as they see we are really making an honest, regular effort to climb out of the hole, even in tiniest installments.
Listen, this is gold.
Yeah.
This is what amazes me about this book. He can have some crazy stuff in there like that poem. And then right after the poem, he's got this comment.
Okay, but listen, he wrote that poem. He put in here that someone allowed him to print it. He just wanted more of his info in here. He wanted everyone... Do you think he wrote it?
Hell yeah, he wrote it. I'll guarantee you Barry wrote that poem.
I
Don't you
remember
think?
being so afraid because when I arrived at AA, I was in debt from having a car wreck and going to prison and all these other things, attorneys, whatever. And I did find this to be true, although I didn't want to make the call. I was so embarrassed and ashamed. And I'm like, these creditors aren't going to freaking care. And then it seemed like every year that I stayed sober, in North Carolina, they can hold your license hostage, essentially, which they should for mine. They should have. But it was like every year I would go to the DMV to try to get my license back, and they'd be like, oh, actually, you owe money to this other place. You owe money to this other place. You owe money to this other place. And I just remember feeling like really ashamed and embarrassed and calling them up. And, you know, it was just interesting how the person on the other side of the phone may or may not, I don't exactly remember, understand Alcoholics Anonymous, but I was told to say, hey, I'm a recovered alcoholic. I'm trying to make this right. I did a lot of this in my drinking, blah, blah, blah. And it took me many years to pay it all off.
Yeah, I think this is a good read. It's right out of the big book too. It's a little different, but I mean, it tells us that we got to lose our fear of creditors, and that we should call them and make
Unless you're
arrangements.
reading the PLBB, in which case you don't have to make financial amends.
That's right. So don't read the PLBB. This has been my experience. I mean, I owed money when I got sober to people and to some creditors, institutions, and I was told to make contact with them quickly and make arrangements. And that taking that action was, and even if it was just a little amount, was way more important than, trying to run from it and hide from it. And there were several of those creditors. I did tiny installments until I made more money, and then I gave more money. And one of them, it took me 10 years to pay off. So I think this is pretty solid, actually. I'd be in favor of keeping it.
All right, we're going to keep it.
We've kept quite a few of them.
We really have. We have kept several.
We've gotten rid of a lot, too, or we've scrapped quite a few.
Well, every now and then.
All right,
Listen,
so listen.
when we rewrite Living Sober, please take the poem out, okay?
Please. I guess they've already approved rewriting it, haven't they? Or editing or something.
Some updating. I believe they call it updating.
We should remember that. We covered it. We have got short memories on some of that stuff. Hey, if you have any chip shrapnel, maybe that's what we should call it, or trinket toy medallion shrapnel.
Dregs. Like chips, like potato chips. You have the
Yes.
dregs.
Birthday anniversary slogans. We're interested in hearing those. So you can email them to us at freedom@alcoholicsalive.com. You can hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, actually X, and TikTok, all at Alcoholics Alive.
Nice.
We're going to cover that in a future episode. In the meantime, ditch that Living Sober book and read the book Alcoholics Anonymous and take the steps and be free.
Freedom.
Thanks for listening. If you have a comment, suggestion, or just need help, you can email Shank and Wayne at freedom@alcoholicsalive.com. Remember, we're recovered members of Alcoholics Anonymous, but we do not speak for Alcoholics Anonymous, nor do we get paid. Join us next week for another great episode.